Chapter 2. Systems Introduction. Congratulations on being chosen by the Bodyguard system. Jaden's mind went blank for a moment as he tried to process what was going on. But before he could do so, another series of prompts appeared in front of him together with a mechanical voice.
It has been detected that the host's current health is not good, and he is going to die within the next 3 seconds. Emergency healing effect of the system has been activated. The host is being healed by the system for free. Due to the healing, the host is not going to receive a beginner's pack.
At the same time as the prompts appeared in front of him, Jaden suddenly felt a warm current rushing through his body. In the next moment, he felt extremely comfortable as the pain that he was feeling from the injuries that he had suffered was being relieved. During the time that Lucas's bodyguards were beating him up, they did not do so barehanded. Instead, they were using their own weapons, which consisted of bats and metal rods that they had picked up from the club. Those weapons actually belonged to a few ruffians who had entered into the club, but were not allowed to bring in any weapons. Due to the intense beating, the injuries that Jaden had suffered were not to be underestimated. They were so severe in such a way that Jaden was almost dying. But right now, Jaden could feel that the pain that he was feeling not long ago had suddenly been relieved, completely disappearing as if it had never been present. Feeling the energy that was currently returning to his body, Jaden could not believe what was happening here. He didn't understand what the system was, but at the same time, he was surprised he had been healed. Since he was not feeling any pain, Jaden got up from the ground. The moment that he did so, he did not feel even a hint of pain. He looked at his body and realized that there was not even a single injury that was left on his body. In fact, even the previous scars that he had suffered throughout his entire life had suddenly disappeared. Jaden could not believe any of this. He was wondering if it was a wonderful dream before entering into the afterlife. After all, he had never heard of any situation where even his old scars were actually healed. Moreover, the injuries that he had suffered from the bodyguards were extremely severe, but somehow, within just a few seconds, they had disappeared. At this point, Jaden actually felt that he was stronger than he was before. Although the change in the increase of his strength was not big, Jaden could still feel that he had gotten a boost in his strength. The enhancement wasn't limited to his strength, extending to even his agility and other parameters, although he had not tested them out. After flexing his hands for a while, making sure that they were completely healed, he went ahead and pinched himself just to make sure that he was not dreaming. And when he felt the pain, he realized that everything was real. With this realization, he finally focused on the holographic screen that was in front of him. Initially, as long as he was focusing on his body, that screen simply became transparent, allowing Jaden to see himself. But now that he was simply focusing on the screen, it had become opaque. "May I know who it is that was talking to me? And what is the system?" Jaden asked. Unlike other people who had already read through several novels and had a good understanding of how a system worked, Jaden did not have the luxury of reading novels. He was busy looking for jobs so that he could feed himself and survive. Where could he have gotten the chance to enjoy a moment of rest so that he could read through a novel? After Jaden asked the question, there was a moment of silence. In the next moment, a line of words appeared in front of him, together with the same mechanical voice that he had been hearing along with it.
To answer the host, this system is simply meant to assist the host to become the best in the field that he or she chooses. Jaden?
Although Jaden had not gotten used to hearing the voice that was resounding in his mind, he could not help but be a little bit dumbfounded. With his mentality, he had already gone through a lot of things. Due to that, he was quite accepting of the changes that had occurred, especially those that were related to him. So at this moment, since he was receiving information about the system, Jaden did not pay much attention to the fact that the system had not given him much of an introduction. He instead simply focused on the information that he had been given. "So, are you trying to say that I can choose any profession? Any that I like, and you'll help me to become the top in that particular profession?" Jaden asked, a little excited. Of course, he was also a little cautious about this system considering he does not know the origin of this so-called system. Jaden thought about it for a while, before he suddenly spoke. "Now, I have decided on a profession. I want to be good at investment. I don't have much capital right now, but I do believe that with the small amount of dollars that I have, as long as I become good at analyzing stocks, I should be able to earn big, right?
I'm sorry, but I have to inform the host that the system has already decided on what profession the host is going to take.
Huh. Jaden was surprised. How was it that the system had pre-selected for him the profession that he was going to go for when he was not even given a chance to make a selection yet? As if understanding the confusion that Jaden was having, another system prompt appeared in front of him as the mechanical voice resounded in his mind.
Although it is true that this system enables a person to choose a profession themselves, however, in the condition that you were in, it was clear that you were going to die. It would have taken about 10 seconds to make a selection, that is if you already had one in mind. By the time that the host would have made a decision, he would have already been dead. The system preemptively decided to select the host's most recent profession, guarding. With this selection made, the system could then heal the host. Otherwise, there was no other way that the system could complete the healing process. Instead of simply becoming a bouncer in a club, the host has been given a chance to become a bodyguard. Jaden.
Jaden was quite smart, so of course he immediately understood what the system was trying to imply. But nevertheless, he could not help but feel that he was a little unlucky. Why was it that the system only appeared after he had been injured and was about to die? It could have actually appeared a little earlier before he was injured. That way, he would be able to make the decision himself. Nevertheless, after thinking much about it, he realized that there was nothing that he could change. It had already happened, and there was no need for him to think much about it, considering that he could only go with the flow. Now, leaving all that aside, can I get an explanation of what this system is? Jaden asked. At the same time, he looked around, realizing that there was nobody else other than himself inside the alley. Knowing that by still continuing to be here he would be in danger, Jaden began moving away from this place. He had to find a safe place first before he could get a deeper understanding of the system. The system, on the other hand, just continued giving Jaden information about itself as he moved. Since he was completely healed, Jaden was able to move at a faster pace, enabling him to leave the alley.
The matter of the origin of the system is something that the host is going to know in the future. The host has to be informed that the system is not here to harm him. In fact, the system is not here with any intention to harm the host or anybody close to him.
Back to the topic, the bodyguard system, the current system that is possessed by the host, is a system that is going to enable the host to become the best bodyguard in the entire world. The system's function is quite simple. The host is going to be given a mission, and once the host completes a mission, he is going to be rewarded accordingly. There is no punishment if the host does not complete the mission given to him, or does not accept the mission. Currently, the host can simply access a single mission. That mission is simple. The host has to join a bodyguard association or group. This way, the host will be able to gain missions that would enable him to level up and become stronger. Jaden remained silent for a while. This was all too overwhelming for him. Although he had learned how to adapt quite easily, he still found the matter concerning the system quite difficult to accept. The system did not tell him about its origin as well as its real aim. However, he was informed that the system did not come with ill intentions. Although he was unsure, Jaden figured that there was nothing that he could do about it. So, he decided to put the matter to the back of his head and observe whether what it had informed him about was actually true or not. He first decided that he was never stepping foot into Dynamic Nightclub again with what had happened yesterday. He took a deep breath and resolutely went back to his place. He had already gotten a system, and as long as the system was what it promised him, then it was going to be life-changing for Jaden. However, if the system did not work, he would have to go and look for another job. He would be targeted by that young master if he went back to the club. He was unsure about why the young master had decided that he was supposed to be beaten up simply because he had refused to become his dog. So, he decided that it was better to avoid him for now. However, if he was ever given an opportunity in the future, he would definitely make sure that the young master paid for what he had done to him today. Just thinking of his fate, Jaden could not help but clench his fists. It was as if the world was just against him, considering everything that he had gone through since childhood. He had tasted the good life, but that life was taken away in a blink of an eye. Oh, how cruel was fate, from a rich young master to suddenly becoming a broke young man. Jaden lived quite close to where he was working. Although it was true that Forest City was quite big considering that it was a second-rate city, the area where Jaden lived was definitely not that developed. In any case, considering that he usually struggled financially after he was fired, it was definitely impossible for him to be able to live in a good place. After all, he could not afford the rent that was supposed to be paid in those developed areas. Even the place where he was living right now was simply due to the mercy of the landlord. Otherwise, he would have already been chased away from that place. He was supposed to be paying the rent after receiving his salary this month, but it seemed that it was going to be almost impossible considering the current situation that he was in. Jaden was living in an apartment that was located on Bizo Street. The street was kind of dirty considering that this was the part of the city that was mainly ignored by those holding high positions within the city. Poor security is a byproduct of the poor development of Bizo Street. Several hooligans would be found within the street, and it was not something new to find that people lose their items to those who would threaten to kill a person for $1. Since it was nighttime, it was clear that there was a high chance that the hooligans were operating. However, Jaden was lucky enough to not encounter any of them. Although unsure about the reason why they had suddenly disappeared, he gladly accepted that fact. He usually worked during the night, so he did not need to deal with those gangsters. During the day, it was kind of secure, though those who were unlucky to encounter those extremely hungry or greedy gangsters would definitely suffer. Jaden lived on the 3rd floor of a 4-storied apartment. After arriving at the shabby apartment that was in real need of repainting, Jaden did not waste his time and entered the apartment. Elevator present in the building. So, Jaden took the stairs. After a while, he finally managed to reach the 3rd floor. There, on the 3rd floor, were 6 bedsitters, and Jaden lived in room number 6. Upon entering the room, one could see that there was nothing fancy within that room. There was a small bed that would definitely not be able to accommodate 2 people with a worn-out mattress. There was an area that Jaden had set aside for a kitchen where all the cooking appliances and utensils were located. As for his clothes, they were located in one corner of the room. In short, the room was well organized despite being in shabby condition. Jaden did not care much about the room. He had already gotten used to staying in this place considering that he had been here for over a year already. After locking the door, he removed his shoes and the blood-stained clothes that he was wearing and laid on his bed. At the same time, he decided to put the matter of the system aside. After all he had been through, he needed right now was a good rest. If he woke up and found out that the system was still present, he would definitely use it to the maximum. But if it were false, he would have to go out and look for another job. Without even knowing, Jaden fell into the embrace of sleep. It was a dreamless sleep in which even Jaden did not know how much time had elapsed by the time that he woke up. He was woken up by a knock on the door and the rumbling of his stomach that demanded non-existent food. With a small frown etched on his face, Jaden got up from the bed. He then put on a simple shirt and a pair of gray sweatpants and headed towards the door. When he opened it, he realized that there was an old man present. He was wearing a plain white shirt that was currently having several of its top buttons open, exposing his old chest. On his head, there was gray hair that indicated that he was extremely old, without even considering the bent posture that the old man was in. This old man was Jaden's landlord, and at the same time, he was living in the same apartment building, just opposite Jaden's room. The apartment was arranged in such a way that there were 3 rooms on each side of the floor, with their doors directly opposite from each other. In the old man's hand, there was a plate that was full of steaming rice. The rice was plain looking, however, just looking at it, one could not help but agree that it was well cooked. "Here you go, Jaden. I'm pretty sure that you are hungry. I heard you coming back yesterday, but you switched off the lights the moment that you got into the room. I'm pretty sure that you did not eat last night, right?" the old man stated as he handed over the plate of steaming rice. Looking at the food in front of him, Jaden could not help but swallow his saliva. It was true that he was currently hungry, but he was not willing to take the food. After all, the old man in front of him was his landlord, and he felt incredibly indebted to him. It was good enough that the landlord had already allowed him to stay here after missing 2 months of rent. This was definitely not the first time that this old man was giving him food. Shaking his head, Jaden responded, "Thank you for your kindness, Grandpa. But I already ate during the time that I was about to come over, so I did not need to cook anything." Of course, there was no way that Jaden could lie to the experienced old man. So, without responding to him, he simply shoved the plate of rice into Jaden's hand, immediately turning around to leave. Jaden was completely helpless. Nevertheless, looking at the plate of food that he was holding in his hand, he decided to eat it anyway. At the same time, he vowed in his heart that he was going to repay the kind old man if he ever got a chance. With determination in his heart, he was about to go into the room and eat before making preparations on what to do next when suddenly, a prompt appeared in front of him.
Reminder from the system. The host only has 1 day to join a bodyguard association or group. Otherwise, the host will be punished by having the system taken away from him.
Jaden was a little dumbfounded because he was not expecting that the system was going to impose a time limit. After receiving the system the previous day, he did not explore much because he felt fatigued, causing him to come back home and sleep. But now that he had woken up, looking at the prompt in front of him, the memories of everything that had happened yesterday appeared in his mind. It turned out that everything that had happened yesterday was real. After thinking for a while, Jaden asked in his mind, "System, can I communicate with you through my thoughts?" He was not sure if he could communicate with the system the same way he communicated with others. If he began speaking to the system, others would think that he had gone mad because he was speaking to nobody as they could not see the system.
As long as the system gains access to the host's thoughts, it should be possible for him to communicate with the system through his thoughts.
Jaden frowned after hearing that. It was clear that if he allowed the system to access his thoughts, that implied that there was nothing that was going to be hidden from the system. But thinking about his life right now, there was definitely nothing that was of value to be hidden. In any case, the presence of the system was something that was considered to be supernatural, something that could not be explained. Compared to his life, the system was definitely at an indecipherable level. Okay then. I think that this would be better considering that I would have better interactions with the system. Jaden thought to himself before he gave the system permission to access his thought process.
The host's thoughts can be accessed by the system. The host can finally communicate with the system through his thoughts and does not need to speak out loud.
After reading the system prompt, Jaden thought to himself for a while before he said in his mind, "System, I would like to get information about the mission."
Mission. Join a bodyguard association or group. The host has to join any bodyguard-related association or group. Reward. Background information editing. Punishment. System's disappearance from the host's life.
Jaden looked at the prompt in front of him. He could not understand much about it. In any case, the simple description from the system about the mission was simple, something that he could understand. But the reward that came from the system was something that he could not understand. What was background information editing? In response to this question, the system prompt appeared in front of him again.
The host will get information about the reward from the system immediately after the reward is dispersed.
Jaden could only shake his head because there was nothing that he could do. Since the system had decided that he was going to receive information about this thing called background information editing, then the only thing that he could do right now was to focus on the mission. Jaden began thinking about which bodyguard association he was going to join. Within the city, it was not that difficult for him to be able to join an association. The major bodyguard associations present within the city held several recruitment ceremonies. However, there was an arranged day where recruitments for bodyguards were held. The last recruitment had only occurred about a week ago. So, it was definitely going to be almost impossible for him to be able to join the big bodyguard associations. In any case, it was not as if the system wanted him to join the major bodyguard associations. As for the small ones present within the city, as long as you possess enough qualifications, you will be able to join them. However, those who were present within that association would have limited job opportunities. After all, it was not as if those who worked there were actually professional bodyguards. Since he had been moving around the city all this while to look for jobs, he was quite familiar with the city. There was a nearby place that he was planning to go to right now. If he wanted to reach that place, he was going to have to walk for about an hour. Thinking of that, Jaden went ahead and took a shower in the men's bathroom present on the 3rd floor of the building. After that, he went ahead and put on one of the suits that he possessed, the only one remaining after the last one had been destroyed. After making sure that he looked presentable, he went ahead and left the building after eating the rice that he had been given by the old man. Since he was walking faster, he was able to arrive there about 5 minutes earlier than expected. Nevertheless, when he arrived there, he found that this place was kind of congested. The location of the Bodyguard Association that he had decided to go to was a place that was quite better as compared to his street. The buildings here looked quite luxurious as compared to the worn-down ones back in his street. The building that belonged to the association that he wanted to join was a 7-story building. It occupied an area of about 800 square meters. The building itself was the tallest in this area. The building was located in an area that possessed quite a huge field, which was a requirement for the association considering that from time to time, those who were in the association would undergo training. However, it could not be compared to the training facilities offered by larger associations. Jaden glanced at the entrance. There were currently several news reporters that were present in the place. They were not the only ones, as even police officers could be seen around. Jaden did not understand what was going on. But still, he went ahead and looked. He was here with only one purpose, and that was to join a bodyguard association. After that, according to the system, he would be able to receive several other missions that he was going to use to be able to level up. As he approached, he finally understood what was going on through the arguments and discussions that were going on. It turned out that this association was given a mission, but they failed to complete the mission. In fact, the person that was given the mission had actually decided to steal from the family that he was working with rather than fulfilling his duties of bodyguarding. This immediately caused the association's reputation to plummet because immediately after that bodyguard completed his theft, he left, completely disappearing. This association was the only place that possessed information on that bodyguard. But even after coming here to inquire about that person's whereabouts, it turned out that even this place did not actually possess much information about this person, and they could not bring him out. In the end, the association was forced to compensate the family that had given them a contract. It was just that the amount that was required was extremely high, and if the association decided to give the money, they would end up bankrupt soon enough. As for the family that wanted compensation, after realizing that the company was not going to pay in full, but wanted to pay in installments, they decided to cause a commotion. Of course, they could have simply gone to court and solved everything quite easily, but still, they decided to come here and make a big scene. They even called news reporters, just to make sure that the reputation of this company dropped to the maximum limit. Those who were keen enough would be able to recognize the fact that this might actually be a scheme by one of their competitors. Jaden could not help but shake his head. It seemed that this company was going to completely collapse soon. After all, even if this company possessed capital, with the bad reputation that it currently possessed, it would definitely not be able to secure any worthwhile contracts. That was actually the reason why the majority of the bodyguards in the association wanted to quit. Why would they continue being in an association when it was not certain that they were going to receive their salaries in the future? Jaden shook his head. Although the system had said that he was supposed to join an organization and had not specified which, he was definitely not going to join an organization like this one. So, he turned around, deciding to leave this place to go to another place, to try another organization and see if he could join them. Young man, wait a moment. I have a good offer for you. Suddenly, a tired voice reached Jaden's ears. Jaden stopped at his footsteps and turned around to see who it was that was speaking to him. At that moment, he realized that the person who had called out to him was actually a middle-aged man who looked worn out. Observing the man in front of him, Jaden could not help but raise his brows a little. The man possessed short black hair that was currently in an unkempt condition and gray eyes that looked at him with hope. The man was currently wearing a black suit that was not even properly arranged, with a loose tie around his neck. Jaden was not sure about the background of this person, but it looked as if he held a high position considering that he could tell that the suit, although not in good condition, was made with high-quality materials. The middle-aged man felt immediate relief the moment that Jaden stopped. Then, he stretched his hand forward for a greeting, and Jaden received it. Hello, my name is Alex Santos, and I am the current boss of the Assured Bodyguard Association. Alex immediately introduced himself. Jaden was once again surprised. Although it was true that this bodyguard association was small compared to the others, the wealth that this association possessed was not low at all. So, to have the boss of such a company coming directly to him like this was quite strange. Then again, thinking about the situation that the company was currently in, Alex's behavior wasn't all that weird. And of course, since Alex had approached Jaden, he had already attracted the attention of the people nearby. So, all of them were focused on the two, wondering about Alex's scheme. "Hello, Mr. Alex. My name is Jaden. It's nice to meet you." Jaden introduced himself back as a form of courtesy. Alex was immediately pleased by Jaden. So, he went ahead and cleared his throat, releasing his grip on Jaden's hand at the same time. Then, he replied, "As I have said before, I have an offer for you. Do you mind having a chat with me in private?" Jaden looked at Alex, and he could see that he was sincere in what he was saying. But even then, Jaden could not help but think about what offer it was that Alex was intending to give him. This was the first time that the two of them had met, so it was definitely impossible that Alex was offering something because he knew him. Why would Alex even go out of his way to give Jaden an offer when they did not even know each other that well? But even then, looking at the gazes that he was receiving from the surrounding crowd, Jaden immediately agreed to accompany Alex into a secluded area. The moment that the two of them left the place, the crowd began murmuring to each other. "Poor young man. He doesn't know that he is going to be tricked." That's right. I believe that Alex intends to make that young man join his Bodyguard association. With all the other employees quitting, he is definitely in a tight spot, especially when he has several ongoing signed contracts. Well, that is to be expected. I don't really think that this company is going to last any longer. After all, it has been targeted by a big family, and looking at how things are going, it seems that even his clients would knock on their doors considering that several bodyguards have already left their jobs. What about that young man? Should we tell him not to accept joining Alex? If he decides to join his association, he is definitely going to be in a tight spot too. After all, since he is going to be in the company, he is also going to be targeted by the enemies of the company. Why do you even care about him when you don't even know him? It is not as if he is an idiot, or is he? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It is going to be his decision on whether he is going to join or not. Yeah, you're right. If he can see that the company is not in a good situation right now, he will definitely not agree to join. But if he does, it is his own decision, and he is going to pay for it in the future. What future are you talking about? I'm pretty sure that it will not be long before he is targeted the moment he joins the company. After all the others did not quit their job simply because they thought that the company was going to collapse, but instead, they must have been given a better offer somewhere else. Alex both heard the conversation of the crowd because they were not that far away from them. But even then, Jaden did not really care about what they were saying because he was quite curious about what Alex had to offer. Jaden looked at Alex, who was walking beside him, and realized that although there was an angry expression on his face, he did not say anything, and neither did he try to refute what the crowd was saying. The two of them went ahead and entered into the company building. The moment that they got into the building, Jaden suddenly realized that almost everything within this building was a mess. It seemed that there was a person who had come to the company to make trouble. But even then, Jaden still focused on Alex, who looked a little embarrassed. "Forgive me for the embarrassing situation here," Alex coughed, hiding his embarrassment as he pointed towards a couch that was still standing. The two of them went ahead and sat on it. Immediately after, Jaden looked at Alex, waiting for him to speak. In turn, he took a deep breath before he finally spoke. "The offer that I want to give you is for you to join my company." Jaden did not say anything, considering that he had already expected that the offer that Alex was talking about was somehow related to his Bodyguard company. Looking at how Jaden's expression didn't change at all, Alex decided to continue. "Of course, I do understand that the current situation of the company is not that good, but I do hope that you will join my company. If you do, believe me, you're going to get a good paycheck. It should range about $10,000 per month." Jaden could not help but raise his brow as he looked at Alex. After all, he did not believe what Alex had said. $10,000 per month? That amount of money was not something that a small bodyguard of a small company could be paid. Alex immediately saw the expression on Jaden's face and immediately understood his doubts. But even so, he still continued with a calm expression on his face. "Of course, the job that you're going to receive after joining this company is not going to be simple. I'm not exactly sure about the details of the mission considering that it came abruptly. But, ignoring that, the one who gave this job offer is a person who holds a high position within the city. So, if you think that $10,000 a month is a lot for a bodyguard, then you're wrong. To him, $10,000 a month is nothing. Additionally, there is something that I must say. As long as you agree to do this job, you are going to experience a lot of difficulties because you will be targeted by several people with high-ranking positions. Alex was quite sincere when giving the information about the job that he was offering to Jaden. After all, he understood that if he had tried to lie to Jaden and he found out, he would not accept the job. It was not as if Jaden was the first person that Alex had approached. It was just that whoever it was that he had talked to before, none of them agreed to do the mission. They all refused the moment that they heard what Alex had to say, thinking that he was just bluffing since his company was about to collapse soon. Where was he actually getting such a luxurious job offer when there were other bodyguard companies present within the city that could perform better than this, with each possessing a greater reputation? Jaden contemplated. Of course, he also thought that Alex was just bluffing. But even then, he looked at Alex and saw that the guy was extremely serious in what he was saying. If this guy was lying, then he deserved an Oscar award for acting. After all, with Jaden's experience during the past years, ever since he lost his parents, he was quite good at reading people. And right now, he could tell that Alex was telling the truth. "Do you mind telling me what you get after I join your company and take this job?" Jaden asked after a moment of contemplation. Of course, there was no way that Jaden was going to believe that Alex was going through all this trouble simply because he thought that it was only going to benefit Jaden. At least, for him to undergo all this trouble in looking for a person who could take up the job despite the company's current crisis, it was obvious that there was something that Alex was going to gain as well. Alex, on the other hand, was not that much surprised after Jaden asked the question. After all, he believed that such a question was eventually going to be asked, especially considering the promises that he had made. Although not directly, he had somehow told Jaden that he was going to earn big during the time that he accepted the job. Alex immediately decided to reveal what he was going to gain from this. Of course, he felt that it was good enough that Jaden had not outrightly decided that whatever Alex had said was just a lie. For my part, I'm going to get a boost. I'm currently in trouble, as you can see from the company's current situation. So, as long as I manage to get someone that can do the work, I'm going to be assisted out of the situation, Alex responded with an honest expression on his face. Jaden thought about it and realized that it seemed to be true. After all, with the situation that the company was currently in, it desperately needed finances in order to pay the debts that it was having. But of course, it needed more than that, considering that the reputation of the company had already suffered, and the majority of the employees of the company had already decided to resign. But as long as there was enough money, it was not impossible for Alex to start the company afresh again. But there's something that I'm still confused about. For a bodyguard, there is usually a standard that is required. So, do you think I am qualified enough to take the job? After all, I do believe that there is some screening that is in order before someone gets a job, especially one as lucrative as this, Jaden asked with raised brows. Of course, no matter how small the company was, as long as it was related to safety, those who wanted to work in the company had to undergo some sort of testing period before they were allowed to join. At the end of it all, if a person joined the company and was not capable enough of the responsibilities given to him, the reputation of the company would go down the drain. After hearing Jaden's concern, Alex's expression became a little complex. He looked at Jaden and sighed with a helpless expression on his face. I'm currently stuck. I don't really have a way out of this situation. Right now, I can only take what is available to me. Jaden immediately understood what Alex was trying to imply here. With the reputation of the company right now, it was almost impossible for him to get any other person to join the company. After all, joining the company would immediately make said person the enemy of the person who was targeting this company. Additionally, there was no guarantee that there was going to be income for the person who joined the company, considering that the company was about to go bankrupt. In such a situation, who would try to risk joining such a company? What about the one who is giving out the job? Doesn't he have some standards of the bodyguard that he requires? Jaden asked once again. According to the income of the job that was being offered, it was clear that it was kind of risky. Since that was the case, that implied that a skilled person was actually required for this job, not just anybody. At the moment, Alex had just met with Jaden, and he did not know much about him at all. Still, he was already offering him the job. Just like I said before, I currently do not have much of an option. Additionally, it is not just me, but the situation over there that is not doing good as well. That is the reason why they came to such a small company as mine to get a bodyguard. Otherwise, don't you think that they would have just gone to a bigger organization to get the bodyguard they wanted? Alex responded with a calm expression on his face. Jaden relaxed his mind for a while as he began thinking about the situation clearly. It was clear that right now, he was being given a job which was related to the system mission. But then again, it was very clear that the job that he was being offered was somehow dangerous. Otherwise, it would have been impossible for him to receive such a lucrative salary. Additionally, how is it possible that they were just going to give him a job like that? It implied that his life would be at risk, considering that most of the time, bodyguards would always put their client's life before theirs. Alex, on the other hand, simply looked at Jaden. He didn't say anything further and simply waited for him to come to a decision. Of course, he believed that it was going to be difficult for Jaden to accept such a job if he did not believe what he had told him. But even then, he held hope that Jaden would believe him. As long as he accepted the offer, everything would be okay, not only for Jaden, but even for himself. He could already tell that Jaden was having some trouble with money with just a single glance at his worn-out suit, despite being well-maintained. After a while, Jaden finally looked at Alex and said, "I agree." Alex was a little startled by Jaden's response. He had expected that Jaden was going to ask a few more questions, but he had not expected that he would outright accept the offer just like that. But the next moment, he became excited. Since Jaden had already accepted the offer, then that implied that the future of his company would definitely get better. But even so, he understood that it depended on Jaden's performance during his mission. He himself was not that sure about the details of the job, considering that he was only asked to find and bring a bodyguard to them. As for who it was that was going to be protected, and so on, he was clueless. Everything was being kept confidential. With bright eyes, Alex looked at Jaden and said, "Thank you for accepting. Believe me, as long as you manage to do your job well, and if you are lucky enough, then you should be more than capable of earning much more than just $10,000. Jaden didn't say anything in reply, only remaining silent. Of course, he understood the reason why Alex said something about being lucky. If the job was filled with danger, he might die on the same day as he began the job, or maybe even before then. All that I need from you right now is a few details about yourself. I just require your ID number, together with your full name and address. That's all," Alex stated hurriedly, afraid that Jaden would back out of the offer. Jaden did not say much and immediately provided the required details to Alex. As for why only a few details had been taken, Jaden did not care much about it, because that was none of his concern for now. Although the job that he had taken this time was full of danger, as long as he completed the mission from the system, everything was going to be okay. Additionally, it was not as if he was not going to get stronger anyway. The system had informed him that it was capable of giving him missions, and as long as he succeeded, he was going to be rewarded with something that was going to make him stronger. So, if he managed to get even stronger than even the special forces, did that not imply that the dangers that were in the mission could be completely ignored? After everything was finally out of the way, Jaden had finally joined the company. The company's name was Assured Bodyguard Association, a name that Jaden really doubted. In any case, after he had completed everything that was required for him to join the company, a system prompt immediately appeared in front of him.
Congratulations to the host for completing the mission of joining a bodyguard association. The reward for joining a bodyguard association is information editing. The reward has already been granted, and the host's information is being edited. The host's information would be fully edited in the next 2 minutes.
Jaden was finally relieved after that prompt. This mission of him joining a bodyguard association, although it looked quite simple, was quite difficult, especially if the situation did not favor him. But in the end, he had already completed it before the time limit was over. With a little smile on his lips, Jaden finally left the building, leaving behind the exhilarated Alex, who felt as if his life had been saved.